welcome back to my channel, and if you're new, welcome to my channel. I'm gonna make this a quick intro. Today's video is a story time as my experience in foster care, which in America, I don't know what they would call it in other countries, if they call it anything else. It's when you are not living with like your own family, you're put into state's custody where like the government has control over everything. They have the say of what goes on in your life as a minor, which is under 18 years old, and they put you in a home for a family who gets paid to take care of you, basically. I'll get more into that in the video. Anyway, if you're new to my channel, please subscribe if you enjoy this kind of content, and click the notification bell so you never miss a post. Give this video a thumbs up, and let me know any thoughts you have down in the comment section below, and let's get right on into it. So for me, I was probably in about, I would say like 8 to 10 different foster homes as a child, really. I guess it was back and forth, in and out. Many different reasons why I was put in foster care. You know, everybody has their own story. Some people have no family. Some people's family didn't want to take care of them, want to raise them, so they just put them in there, or they were abused with their family. There's all kinds of different situations. Mine's a mixture of things. So I'll first say, I did not have a horrible, I was beat up and mistreated and just any kind of abuse, a little bit, but not like that. There are some homes that have no right, they have nothing, they should not be doing it, and this government really needs to investigate more into time like this, because there's so many homes that are like that, and I was fortunate not to go through anything too severe like that. Also, I want to say, you know, if you are a younger kid who's in foster care, or you know, right now, I mean, there was times I had the possibility of even going to foster care and I knew a little bit in advance. You know, if you're in that kind of situation, this is not to scare you. Not all homes. There are some amazing homes. I was in an amazing home. So, you know, I'm going to put that out there also. I'll say, start off with, I remember my first time going into a foster home when I was maybe 6 or 7 years old. And no, more like maybe 5 or 6. And I actually a little bit remember going to school one morning, and my family was kind of upset, and they're like, you know, I don't know what's gonna happen. You know, they didn't really tell me too much, and I just remember my uncle, he had his own office, and when I got out of school, his secretary picked me up from school because, you know, as a kid, I didn't know they were in court, but that's what they were doing. They were still in court, and it wasn't over, and it was about 2:30 in the afternoon. So I go to the office, and I remember the secretary had a daughter that was about a year or two older than me, and we were playing hide and seek throughout the office. And closer to like evening time, I remember like my grandparents, my aunt and uncle, and my mom coming in crying, and I didn't understand why. Until there was 2 people who I didn't know behind them, and I remember 2 people in like kind of suits, kind of, I guess. You know, they said, you're gonna go with these people for a little while until we can figure something out. And I actually remember hiding in a cupboard in one of the rooms, and it took them a little bit to find me because I wouldn't come out, because I didn't like strangers as a kid, really. So the thought of going with strangers was not appealing. And they ended up taking me, and I think I was in foster care for maybe a week. At this point, I had never lived with my biological father, and that's basically what the judge was waiting on, to see if my biological father could take me, because my mom was not allowed to have me, and my certain family members were fighting to get me, and the judge was like, well, what about her father? Which our whole family was kind of mad about. Like, I didn't really know my father. Why are you gonna put somebody who's probably only met their father once or twice in her whole life over there and put her in a different home while you wait? That was kind of silly, I thought. As I'm an adult, you know, and I'm realizing that is pretty, yeah, messed up. But I don't remember that home at all. So I can't say if it was good or bad, you know. I don't think if it was bad, I probably would have remembered, because there was a lot of traumatic things that I can remember as a little kid that I went through, and I don't remember anything from there. So, you know, I'm gonna say that was a good home and they took care of me. I remember after that going into another foster home, maybe around 8 or 9 years old. And this is like a home I really can't remember. I'm not going to talk about every home I was in, by the way, because there's some I really just can't remember until I get into my older years. But that time I went in because my grandmother was having knee surgery and she could no longer take care of me. And as my grandparents were most of my life as a child, they were my main guardians, which means they had custody of me, they raised me, they took care of me, they made the decisions. Well, when she had this surgery, she didn't think she could physically take care of me anymore, and the judge put me there for a few days, so I don't really remember that home either. Then my aunt got custody of me, and I lived with my aunt for 4 or 5 years, and maybe not even that, maybe like 3 or 4, but just remember it starts. Then I kind of got into my teenage years. I had a rough teenage, you know. I was very badly bullied in school, and I skipped school so much because I begged and begged my family to move me into a different school. They wouldn't do it. So I skipped school, and it got to the point where the school took me to court for truancy, which is mean you don't go to school, you're skipping all kinds of school. You know, there's only 180 school days in the USA, and I had missed, I think, around 120s. It was in that area. So yeah, you can tell, you know, if I'm missing 120 something days of school and there's only 180 in the year, what the hell are you doing, right? Well, as my punishment, it was to go to foster care. And they were saying I was beyond control at home as my family was not making me go to school. But in a way, my grandma knew I was skipping school. Sometimes she would help me skip school, but a lot of the times they didn't know. Now, my grandpa, he would not have let me skip school ever. But anyway, I went into that summer, it was summertime basically, I went into 3 or 4 different homes. The first home I went to, at first, they asked me questions. They were like, so what do you like? I like animals. I like going out and having fun and not being cooped up in a house. And they gave me a family they thought matched me. I would say the first week there was actually really, really good. They let me use the internet, which MySpace was popular back then. So I had me a little MySpace and I was able to connect with my friends. And slowly things got weird there. They took the bedroom door off the hinges and they would make me shower with the bathroom door wide open. Now, when I would tell my family this, they would tell the social worker, but the social worker never saw anything wrong. They told the social worker that's not how it was, when that was exactly how it was. And the foster dad became very, he yelled at me a lot for stuff like if the dog was barking at the mailman. I actually remember this. I was getting yelled at telling him to make the dog shut up. Yeah, so, and when I say yell, like, I mean cursing at me. Now, this family never laid a hand on me until my very last day there. They didn't lay a hand on me. He threw some kind of like spray can at me, like a big spray can, and like threw it at me and like hit me with it. It did not hurt. I remember it didn't really hurt like that. But I was ready to get out of that house because at this point, you know, they were making me feel very uncomfortable. Every day I was being yelled at. Everything changed. I was there for a month and finally I got to leave. Then I went to the second home that was, I don't want to say, they weren't at all violent towards me, but they were gross people. Now, this house, and by the way, when I say this, my social worker never checked up on me. Now, I had a horrible social worker. I'll get into that later on. You can also get really bad social workers, unfortunately. But yeah, so the second house, they didn't let me use the phone, and I had phone rights to call my grandparents, and I had days and times that I was specifically allowed to use the phone to call them, but they never let me would. At this point also, I'll say I was maybe 12, 13 years old when I was in foster care at this time. But they had like ticks. I remember I woke up one day and like pulled a tick off my leg. It was that bad. And they had cat feces everywhere. Like, they had a lot of cats. They didn't take care of it. The house just smelled horrible. Now, when the social worker would call and be like, I'm gonna be here tomorrow, it wasn't me who did the cleaning, but I guess they cleaned all night and made it look, you know, presentable. So I don't remember ever having to really clean like that. They didn't feed me. That's another thing I'll say. When you are in custody or in foster care, anything dealing with the state, the people who are taking care of you are given a paycheck to take care of you, but they're also given another check that is for the means of the child: clothing, hygiene products, all kinds of stuff, food. And they were feeding me. I remember I would get a slice of bread, baked beans or rice, and maybe a piece of meat, some kind of little piece of meat, ham, turkey, something like that. That was my meals for lunch and dinner, and breakfast was like, I think, oatmeal and I think like a slice of toast with like a little bit of butter, like, and water. I never got to drink anything but water. And my family noticed I started actually losing a lot of weight, and they had reported that. Social worker never really looked into it. Now, my family did get to come pick me up on the weekends, but I would usually just run out to their car and be like, I'll see y'all later. They never came in there. And at that time, I didn't realize, like, I knew it was dirty, but I didn't think that was a reason to, like, not be able to have a foster child. So I never really said anything. But then came the day, and I'll never forget this. I had my very first period ever. And they wouldn't give me any, you know, tampons or even a pad. So I was taking their toilet paper and rolling it up to use. And she got mad at me and actually took all the toilet paper out. Now, I was raised in a church, and it was Vacation Bible School. And we actually had a lady that goes to the church who lived on this side of town, who was like, we'll pick her up. And I got approved I could go every day for the week. And I had told her, she was the first one who saw how nasty, because she actually came to the door because she arrived early, and she saw how nasty it was. It took her reporting it to the social worker. But when I got to church, my Nana went and bought me some stuff to take care of my period with, and also that got reported. Well, they actually are no longer allowed to have foster children because of that. Then I went to my third home that I was there for maybe 4 or 5 days. And they were fine. That was like a temporary foster home until they could find a placement for me. They were fine, don't remember much about it. But then that summer I went to my last foster home, who was amazing. They had a daughter that was my age that I shared room with, and you know, I loved it there. And when I get into my social worker, who was horrible, I got taken out of this foster home after about a month and a half of living there. And actually got put into a thing called a group home, which I might make that another video. If you all don't know what that is, I don't even want to get into that. I'll save that for another video. But before going in there, now me and the daughter, you know, you put 2 teenage girls in a room together, you know, for hours. We were like sisters. We had a little fight, and I think we got into like physical altercation. Like, you know, she hit me and we hit each other. We just, you know, hit each other back and forth. I don't remember what the fight was over, but they decided, you know, they needed a little break for a day or two, let things cool off. Well, instead of that, that 1 or 2 day break, I got to come back, and the foster mom, who I actually still talk to this day, told me that they weren't going to let me live there anymore. This is my last night in their house, and she was crying, and she's like, I begged them to. And it was just the social worker. Now, I will say the social worker, my family did not like her. She did not check up on me. Anytime I called her, she would not call back. I had this social worker for about 2 years, because I was actually out of my family's home for almost 2 years, and only about 3.5, 4 of those months was in foster care, and the rest of the time was at another group home. I will make another video on that. Other than that, with other foster homes, I remember being in one home when I was 16, and they were super strict, which is what I probably needed, but at the same time, the way they downgraded me, they'd be like, oh, well, your family don't want you, you're never going home, which wasn't really the case. And they wouldn't let me talk to my family. My grandma called one time and they would not put her on the phone for anything. And my grandma got really sick and was in the hospital and they wouldn't let me go. And I had a different social worker, but finally social worker picked me up and let me go see him. They wouldn't let me do what of their own biological children could do. We would go out to dinner and I would have a budget on what I could eat, and you know, their kids are getting dessert and I'm like, no, you can't have dessert. And just, it's little stuff like that. They never hit me or did any like thing physical towards me, just kind of, well, my daughter's better than you. Your family didn't want you, that's why you're with us. And they would actually brag about how much money they would get and how much they were gonna keep of my money. They would tell me, you know, instead of you getting this money, she told me she's gonna buy her daughter these pair of shoes for her back to school, and I didn't get anything new. It's kind of like little stuff like that, and people like that should not be. There's a lot of people in it just for the money, and it's horrible, and I wish the system could be checked out and controlled better. And I know people are actually really desperate for foster parents. So I will say, if you are even thinking about doing fostering kids into your home, and I know it's a lot to do that, it's something I want to do one day, not right now in my life, but you know, one day 10 years down the line or so, I would love to be a foster parent. But it is a lot of work and it can be very stressful. But if you're really interested in doing it, you should look up in your state the guidelines and everything you would need, because all over the USA, they're needed badly. That is going to be all for this video. If you want to see me talking about my experience in group homes, let me know in a comment down there if you know what a group home is, or if you've had any like similar experiences like that. I really want to know. I will see you all next time. Bye.